Okay, now can you hear me? Okay, that's better. I will do that again. Sorry about that. This is Crystal Hall. I've already helped the police. I did what I could. I have information with the case that I'm not going to risk divulging. I was part of the investigation, asking questions that I was instructed to. I'm not going to divulge stuff that I'm not supposed to. That I'm I have comments, but I'll keep them to myself right now. I'm going to play for you something that WTHR 13 here in Indiana has been working on. So we'll stop here and there for fair use reasons.
A child missing for years.
And there's been no sign of it.
A family with no new answers.
Certainly, we've hit a wall.
But now, new video from police.
I'm pretty sure there's something in that car you don't want me to find.
New details about what happened inside this house.
You don't keep kids in a closet. That's not normal.
And a new journey.
Going right through the mountains.
Thousands of miles away. To find out
Pretty sure that's her.
what really happened.
Hi, Crystal. Is Hayden alive or dead?
Right now, 13 investigates.
Where's Hayden?
Where's Hayden?
Where's Hayden Manis?
That's the question we ask ourselves every day.
A little boy simply vanished. What makes this story so unusual is Hayden Manis has been missing for not just a few days or weeks or even months. He's been missing for years, and it's only recently that his disappearance came to light. 13 Investigates was first to break the story. Now we've uncovered new information as detectives and family members try to figure out what happened to Hayden. Cell phone videos and pictures. These are what Hayden's family now clings to after realizing this little boy is nowhere to be found.
I miss him dearly.
Hayden's grandfather and 3 of his aunts met with 13 Investigates to share their grief,
Oh, God.
to ask the public for help,
Just give us some answers.
and to try to make sense of how a 4.5-year-old just disappeared.
When's the last time you saw Hayden?
Christmas Eve, 2019, at our family gathering.
He was getting presents. He was excited.
That was the last time.
When Hayden left his great-grandmother's house that Christmas Eve in 2019, he was with his father, Dustin, who has a criminal history involving drugs and alcohol. In fact, Hayden's father and mother both lost custody of their 1-year-old son after they tested positive for cocaine. Police also found Hayden and his father in a motel room littered with heroin. That's when Hayden went to live with his grandfather, Gary.
He's a good kid. I never had any trouble out of him the whole time I had him.
But 1.5 years later, after Hayden's father served his sentence and completed treatment and counseling, a judge ordered Hayden be returned to his father.
I begged them not to give him back. It wasn't my choice. They wouldn't even let me speak in court.
At that point, Hayden was about to turn 3. His father took him to visit his aunts and uncles and cousins every once in a while, but those visits started getting further apart. After the Christmas get-together in 2019, the visit stopped completely, even though Hayden's relatives kept trying, texting Dustin to invite him and Hayden to family gatherings.
At least every month I would message him, can you come and do this?
Can you and Hayden come have dinner with us? And he would respond with, we'll try. Everything's fine. We're okay. Hayden's fine. We'll try to make it. But we never We never did get to see him. He never came.
And that
Something about Indiana that you've got to understand is grandparents have zero rights. But like I said, when I covered this before, they still could have called and asked for welfare checks, something. Am I wrong? I don't think I am. We'll get back to it. Just a fair warning, it does get horrifying.
That's how things were for years, until this past September, when some of Dustin's family members discussed not seeing Hayden in a long time and started getting suspicious. They asked police to check on Hayden. Police found Dustin, but not his son. And the story Dustin told police did not add up. That was months ago. And today,
I still love you more.
Hayden is still missing.
Where's Hayden? Nobody can come up with Hayden. The last person that was responsible for him couldn't provide any information about where he was. And that's when we realized, I think,
Something terrible had happened.
yeah.
Where's Hayden Manis?
That's the question we ask ourselves every day.
Eric Hoffman is the prosecutor in Delaware County, where sheriff's investigators have been trying to locate Hayden for almost a year. They started by interviewing Dustin, who claimed DCS showed up one day several years ago and took Hayden away to go live with his mother.
Did Hayden go back into the custody of the Department of Child Services?
No, that was disproven quite easily, quite quickly.
Did Hayden go back to his birth mom?
No, we knew that was a lie. He was not telling the truth.
Investigators know what did not happen, but figuring out what did happen, that's been far more difficult because Hayden was missing for years before police ever learned of his disappearance.
To say that has complicated this case is an understatement. To get the call in 2024 that you've not seen a child since 2020 is a huge hurdle.
And that's not the only challenge for detectives. In November, Muncie police arrested Hayden's dad on more drug charges after they found Dustin with heroin and meth. He spent a few weeks in jail before posting bond. 4 days later, Dustin Manis died from a drug overdose.
Just because Dustin Manis is dead does not mean the investigation is dead. We're still going forward.
13 Investigates has learned detectives have searched this Muncie house and removed potential evidence from inside. It's the last place Hayden was known to be living with his father and his dad's former girlfriend. Detectives interviewed that former girlfriend and some of her family members before they moved out of state late last year. No one has been able to lead police to Hayden, and no one has been charged in his disappearance.
How can something like this even happen? How can a little boy just disappear and no one knows where he is or what happened to him? How is something like this possible?
There's very few ways that it's possible. An adult can disappear. Kids aren't like that. Kids don't have passports. Kids can't travel. Kids Hayden's age just don't go somewhere. A child can only go missing in very few ways, none of which are voluntary.
You suspect something terrible has happened?
Yes.
Do you think Hayden's alive?
No, I don't. I don't think he's with us anymore.
No, I don't believe he's alive.
I do not know. Not after talking to the police, I don't.
The family says since the investigation began, they've heard stories that Hayden was badly abused and neglected inside this house before he went missing.
I just hope it isn't true, what he went through.
Things you've heard are incredibly disturbing.
Disgusting.
Horrifying.
detectives and the prosecutor are not releasing specific details of the investigation.
What we've heard has been shared with police is pretty horrible details and information.
I would agree. It's haunting. It's definitely haunting, some of the facts in this case.
Do you have any reason to believe that Hayden is still alive?
Based on the evidence that I've seen and the interviews that have been conducted, I do not have a reason to believe that. There are very few days I come to this office and I don't think of Hayden Manis. So this case is on my mind and it's on the investigator's mind on a daily basis. We're not going to stop until we get to an answer. We need to know the truth.
What is the truth? Well, 13 Investigates has discovered new details.
I did fail that little boy.
You don't keep kids in a closet.
What do you think that smell could have been?
I think it was Hayden.
That's just ahead.
Yeah, so yes, it is very sad. Yes, Barb. I'm gonna skip it just a little bit to get past the music, I hope. And some things come out later. So just be prepared.
Than we were a couple months ago.
I don't think so. No. Certainly we've hit a wall, but the question is, can you go around the wall or climb over the wall? And that's what we're trying to do now.
While investigators look for more clues, 13 Investigates has discovered new information about the timing of Hayden's disappearance and about the people who might have been the last to see him alive.
Do you have a driver's license?
I do have a driver's license, yes, sir.
Okay.
13 News obtained this video of Dustin Manis from November, just a few weeks before he died. For the first time, 13 Investigates can show you Hayden's father pulled over for a traffic stop in Muncie. And this new police body cam video shows he's nervous.
Nothing illegal on you?
No,
Dustin, is there anything illegal inside your car?
no.
Okay. No methamphetamine, marijuana,
Nope.
heroin,
Nope.
any weapons you shouldn't have?
When Dustin tells the officer he does not want him to search the car he's driving, suspicion grows.
And Dustin, I've been doing this a long time.
No,
bud.
I understand.
Okay, I'm pretty sure there's something in that car you don't want me to find. Okay, because I mean, I stopped you for a traffic infraction and your stress level is way up here.
That's when Dustin tells the officer why he's so nervous.
I just literally got
I'm
questions about my
fair-
son being missing and whatnot, so I'm just upset about that.
He also admitted there might be a little bit of drug residue in the vehicle. Police searched it and found methamphetamine.
A little more than residue, right?
Yeah. Dustin, I told you the entire time you got something more there.
There's a little bit of heroin in my pocket and a syringe too.
Turns out Dustin's claim that he had no drugs, yet another example of him making up a story that was not true, just like the story he told about DCS taking away Hayden.
There's a lot of inconsistent information. It's a difficult investigation.
Still trying to put together the time frame?
Yes, and that's an ongoing task, and it's quite difficult. Again, we're working backwards 4 years. And it's literally like chasing a ghost.
But the timeline of Hayden's disappearance is now a little more clear, thanks to new tips and interviews obtained by 13 News. You might remember, Dustin's family members say the last time they saw Hayden was at a family gathering on Christmas Eve 2019.
He was getting presents. He was excited.
And this poster asking for help in finding the missing boy from Muncie says Hayden was last seen just a few days later, in January 2020, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. But 13 Investigates has discovered Hayden was actually seen months later at this go-kart track near Newcastle. That tip came to 13 News from a woman who says she was at the track in late August 2020 and saw Hayden sitting in the second row of these stands. 13 Investigates spoke to a second person who confirmed he also saw Hayden here on August.
So, did you catch that? He was seen many months later. So, I don't know where he was in the time frame. So, we'll go back.
August 30th, 2020. And that's important because it means Hayden's disappearance did not happen until at least 8 months later than originally thought.
I mean, were you guys all together that day?
Yeah.
That second person who saw Hayden at the track is Paul Hall.
Dustin and Hayden actually did live on my property.
Paul is the father of Crystal Hall, Dustin Manis's girlfriend at the time Hayden is believed to have gone missing. Paul also owned the Muncie home where Hayden, Dustin, and Crystal lived during the time of the disappearance. They lived on one side of this house, and Paul and his wife lived on the other. Hi, Paul. Over the past 4 months,
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
13 Investigates has talked with Paul several times.
So, it was like a duplex, is how they had it set up. They all lived in that house. A wall divided the two residents. You tell me how. How did they not hear what was going on next door? Right on the other side of a wall.
He does not want to meet with me in person.
Yes, Paul.
But he did agree to several recorded phone interviews to share what he knows. And he knows a lot.
You know, Hayden actually called me Mr. Grandpa while he was there. I babysat him several times.
Tell me about Hayden, about this little boy who lived in part of your home.
He was a pretty smiley guy. You know, he did have some what I would call behavioral challenges, to where, you know, there were times where he wouldn't respect authority. But other than that, he seemed like a normal, adjusted little boy.
At one point, Hayden is living at your house, and at another point, he's not. What did Dustin tell you when you said, "Where's Hayden"?
That the mom had a DNA test done, and that Hayden was with his mom.
At the time, did you think anything odd about that story?
No, you know, I didn't. And I'll tell you, it torments me every day now, Bob. No, I didn't. You know, Bob, it was my job to protect that little boy. I just never thought, you know, that I would have to protect him from his own father.
Paul told me about the day last fall when investigators searched his home with cadaver dogs and with detectives from the state crime lab.
So they did bring a search warrant to the property, and they took a little tiny section of the floor out of the master closet that was in the mother-in-law's quarters.
Okay. He had a duty. And he failed in that duty. But like I said, you know, tell me how they did not hear anything through that wall. I guess there is a garage or something in the middle. I don't know. But I'm just dumbfounded. I am just so dumbfounded right now.
I remember the officer asked me, "What do you think this means with us asking for this?" And, you know, I remember answering him. I says, "I think that means that you guys think something might have happened to him in my house."
How did you feel about police searching your home?
Absolutely sick and mortified, because I just knew deep down that something really bad has happened here.
Paul says he tried to watch out for Hayden, even confronting Dustin when a family member contacted Paul personally to express concern that Hayden was being kept inside the house in a dog cage.
We looked, we never saw any cage, never saw anything even resembling that.
We had heard from some family members that they heard that Hayden was locked in a closet for discipline. Did you ever see that or hear about that happening?
I think that was kind of confused with the cage thing, because I think that's what happened. I think that Dustin had put him in the closet, which was a walk-in closet, by the way. Still unacceptable. And I believe that was the same incident that somehow it went from closet to cage. And that was the one incident that I had confronted and had the conversation with Dustin about.
Our conversation then turned to Paul's daughter, who has not returned any phone calls from 13 Investigates.
Do you think Crystal had anything to do with the disappearance of Hayden?
No. And I'm not saying that because I'm her dad. Again, I have never seen her act violent towards anything or anybody in her whole entire life.
Just, you don't believe him? Yeah, I don't believe him either. Yes, Nancy. The family, the aunts and the grandparent previously spoke that they learned about all the abuse that was going on. I agree, Monty. Let's go back to it until it gets close to the music part, and then we're going to stop again.
And, I've seen her give her children a normal spanking. I have never seen anything worse than that. If I thought for 1 minute that my daughter had something to do with what's happened to Hayden, I'd turn her in myself.
You've spoken with your daughter about what happened to Hayden. What did she tell you?
Well, she thinks, like I think, that he murdered his son.
If she's right, does Crystal know more details about that murder? Does she know anything about Hayden's death, his disappearance, or what happened to his body?
Have you spoken with your daughter about that?
Yeah, I actually haven't asked her that question. That's probably a question that I need to ask her.
Keep in mind, they live in the same house. Paul and I spoke multiple times. Again and again, I'd ask the same questions. Have you asked her directly? Again and again, the same response.
No, I have not. I think I will once I get home today.
Okay, we've had this conversation several times, and every time we've talked about it, you've said, "Oh, I'm going to talk to her about it." So,
well, there might be a part of me that doesn't want to know the answer to that question.
It's inconsistent to say that you'd turn her in if you thought that she might have anything to do with it, but then not be willing to ask her whether or not she had anything to do with it.
Text me the questions you want me to ask her, Bob. I'll give you the commitment that I'll ask her. It's the right thing to do, so I'll do it.
I did text questions for Paul's daughter, and the following week, we talked again.
She has absolutely no desire to talk about any of this. She just said, I'm not answering anybody's questions. And for anybody that wants to know anything, they'll have to get the information from the police.
What do you think of that?
I don't agree with her decision at all. I don't understand why she won't talk to anybody. So, that is a concern for me.
Another concern for Paul, what he saw inside the part of the house where Hayden was living after Hayden was gone and Dustin had moved out.
After all this happened and I went in there and I saw the damage to the inside of that house, I don't know how I didn't hear the obvious fits of violence that went through there. There were holes in the wall, there were broken doors, but I found this stuff, out all after the fact. The bottom line is I did fail that little boy. Nothing changes that. He was there. I should have seen what was happening. I didn't. I wish I would have, and I wish the whole thing. Give me a minute, will you?
Yeah.
I wish I would have seen it, Bob. I would have done. I would have died stopping it if that's what it would have took.
Is Paul Hall having remorse for not doing something that he knows damn well he should have done? I don't know.
We asked the prosecutor to respond to what we heard from Paul. He said some of the statements are troubling.
You don't keep kids in a closet. That's not normal. If he knew something, he had a duty to act, and he failed to do so. And so when he says he failed Hayden, he did so miserably, as did others.
The prosecutor also told me both Paul and his daughter provided detectives with inconsistent and conflicting information. Is Crystal Hall a person of interest in this case?
Yes.
Why?
From the information we've gathered, she's a person of interest in the case. I'm not necessarily calling her a suspect or that she harmed or did anything to Hayden. I'm not going to confirm or deny that, but she is most definitely a person of interest because she lived with him. For her not to be a person of interest wouldn't make much sense given the facts.
What are the facts? Well, 13 Investigates has been trying to ask Crystal about those for months, and not just through her dad.
Hi, Crystal. My name is Bob Siegel.
I called and called.
Just want to follow up on the message that I left you last week.
I also texted and mailed her my list of detailed questions, but she did not respond at all. So we decided to go see her in person, 2,000 miles away.
I want you to sit back and relax and enjoy this 3-hour 11-minute flight to Las Vegas.
Our search for answers took us to Nevada and a drive through the desert.
Going right through the mountains.
To the small town where Crystal and her family moved a few months ago.
Pretty sure that's her.
That's where I finally got to meet Crystal and ask my questions face to face.
Okay. Just be prepared for things that are going to be coming up. I just want you all to know it may be hard for some, but we've all been through stuff like this, so we will go forward.
Hi, Crystal.
Let's
and ask my questions face to face.
Hi, Crystal.
Hey, I'm not talking to you.
Is there anything you can share at all? Anything?
I cannot. I would like for you to stop this.
We're just trying to get answers to what happened.
And I did that with the police.
Is there a reason that you won't answer any additional questions?
Because I'm not obligated to. And I did work with them.
Do you know what happened to Hayden?
I cannot talk to you about that.
Is Hayden alive or dead?
I cannot talk to you about that.
Is there anything you can say at all?
I told you I cannot. I was a part of the investigation, asking questions that I was instructed to. I'm not going to divulge stuff that I'm not supposed to.
When you say information that you're not supposed to, did police tell you not to divulge more information?
During the investigation and during everything when I was with them, it was to keep it between me and the officers I was working with, yes.
Our meeting did not last long, and Crystal explained why.
I don't believe talking to a reporter and blowing this up more on social media for people to make their own stories, ideas, etc. from is the right call.
Can you share anything about what happened so that people are not making up stories?
I cannot. I did that, like I said, with the police already.
Can you tell us if you know whether Hayden is alive or dead?
I cannot.
I get the impression there's a lot of information that you are not going to share. Would you like to be able to share that information?
I am not going to talk to you any further.
Can you help provide his family with any answers?
I already helped the police. I did what I could. I have information with the case that I am not going to risk divulging.
So Crystal does have information. She just won't talk about it. What information does Crystal not want to divulge? Well, multiple sources close to the investigation have confirmed for 13 News what she told police. Those sources agreed to speak with me as long as they would remain anonymous. They say when investigators came to this home back in the fall to search the house and to talk to Crystal, she told them Hayden Manis is dead and that she disposed of the boy's body in a trash compactor at a truck stop where she used to work. 13 Investigates has confirmed Crystal worked at several truck stops between 2020 and 2023, including several in Spiceland and this one in Marion. Our sources told us that you told police that you disposed of his body in a dumpster.
That is not what I told police.
Can you share with us what you did tell police?
I have to go to work. I would like for you to stop this.
Is there a reason that you won't answer any additional questions?
Because I am not obligated to, and I did work with them.
Just to be clear, you're saying you did not dispose of his dead body?
I did not say that.
You did not tell that to police?
I did not.
Again,
just remember what she just said. She said no. We will continue on.
Multiple sources tell 13 Investigates Crystal did tell police she got rid of Hayden's body. And then
It was awful.
there's this.
They say that you don't forget what a dead body smells like, and I will never forget that smell. It was an awful smell.
More on that smell in a moment. First, I want you to meet Amber Roberts. She worked with both Crystal and Dustin.
We were working the exact same schedule.
They worked together at the Flying J truck stop in Marion. The same year, Hayden disappeared.
Hayden, every time Dustin brought him into pilot, he was sweet to all of us. He was never out of line.
Crystal and Amber were co-managers who ran the truck stop together. Amber says they quickly became friends.
She came in, she was very professional, she was very put together. I was actually excited when her and I got put on the same schedule. We got along well. We were both young women, mothers, trying to take care of our kids and our families and run a truck stop.
She was a good coworker?
She was, until she wasn't.
What happened?
I don't know what in her changed, but she just quit showing up for work.
Amber says that was late summer 2020 when both Crystal and Dustin suddenly stopped coming in. And Amber told me just a few weeks later, she noticed something else.
We came out one day and we're just like, man, we can't handle the smell.
It came from over there, just behind the truck stop.
It smelled like death. That's the only way you can describe it. I worked at this particular store with this particular dumpster and trash area for 4 years. That dumpster area smelled awful the end of the summer that year. It was the worst I've ever, and I've smelled truck stop trash. Like, it's the worst of the worst trash. And it was beyond what it normally was. And then it was like that for a few weeks.
What do you think that smell could have been?
I think it was Hayden.
And just at that time,
I had no idea that that's what it could have been. That's the last place your mind wants to go. And I'm like, I didn't know that Hayden was missing. I didn't know to reach out and talk to anybody.
Based on interviews conducted by 13 Investigates, the last time Hayden was seen in public was August 30th, 2020. The horrible smell from the trash compactor, Amber says that was just a few weeks later, in September or October of that same year. Amber recalls around that same time, Crystal did return to work a few shifts at the truck stop, and she told 13 Investigates, Crystal then seemed very quiet, stressed, angry, and disheveled.
And then she came in and demanded a transfer after that, out of nowhere.
Have you shared what you know with police?
Yes.
The Delaware County Sheriff's Department tells 13 News it will not discuss sensitive details about an ongoing investigation. Neither will the Delaware County prosecutor.
This is an active, open investigation. I don't want to taint that.
I asked him directly, did Crystal Hall tell investigators she disposed of Hayden's body? Is that true?
I don't want to get into the contents of her various statements to the police. I don't want to confirm or deny that.
Disposing of a body in a dumpster. Is that a crime?
That is a crime.
13 News legal analyst Katie Jackson Lindsay says failing to report a dead body in Indiana is a misdemeanor. And she says what reportedly happened to Hayden's body could be even more serious than that.
There's a crime on the books called abuse of a corpse. And so putting a corpse into a trash compactor would be considered mutilating that corpse. And that is a crime. That's a felony crime in the state of Indiana.
If someone confessed to doing that, why wouldn't they already be charged?
To the everyday person, it seems like it would be ridiculous to confess to something you didn't do, right? But that can happen, and that does happen. And so law enforcement cannot take a suspect's confession alone as evidence of a crime. It's a legal concept called corpus delicti, and it's a Latin term that literally means body of the crime. If I went out and robbed a bank, and I went into a police station with a bag full of money and said, I just robbed a bank. Well, if there's no report that a bank was robbed, there's no bank in the area saying that they had just been robbed by a lady or by anyone, then the police can't just go out and charge that person. There has to be some other evidence of the offense.
We know detectives did remove items from the house where Hayden lived with Crystal and Dustin, including a section of flooring from a closet.
There are items of evidence that either have or are going to go out to various labs for forensic testing.
But whether that evidence points to a crime or leads to any arrest is uncertain. So far, it has not. From a legal standpoint, what should we make of that? What does that tell us?
I think we should assume from that there's a corpus delicti issue. They have this confession, but they do not believe, even circumstantially, they have enough other evidence to charge this particular person, first of all, with that crime of just disposing the body, but even more so with being responsible for the death of that body that was disposed of.
Not only has no one been charged with a crime in Hayden's disappearance, right now, no one's even been named a suspect. So, some of the mystery surrounding this little boy continues, and the question, what happened to Hayden, still not fully answered.
The only thing I know with absolute certainty in this investigation, after all this time, is that I have not seen Hayden Manis alive, and I have not seen Hayden Manis' body. I would encourage any and all tips to keep coming in.
And I hope that more people are willing to come forward if they know anything.
Just please, somebody, call the police. In the end, we need to know that he gets justice.
Investigators tell me the 4-year delay in learning of Hayden's disappearance, it's a huge challenge to overcome, but they're still trying. We want to share the tip line number with you again. If you know anything about what happened to Hayden, call the Delaware County Sheriff's Investigations Division. This phone number and much more about our investigation, it's all posted right now on WTHR.com. Thanks.
So, there's that. This poor little boy. Sorry. Everyone around him failed him. Thank you, Eric. I am trying. So. I don't know why it's not gone any further than just local media. We need to get this out there. So we can do our part by sharing it out, trying to get it out there. Yeah, he's a cutie patootie. Okay, thank you all for joining. Sorry I'm not on camera. I have been ill, but I am feeling better. You know, Cynthia, I have not found any. Let me hold on. I don't think they have. No, I don't see anything on X. All I see is other pictures. Oh. There's that picture of him. And he's such a sweetie. Now, I will keep an eye out for that, Cynthia. I will scour and see if one of them has made a progression photo. That would be nice to have. All right. Thank you all for being here. We got to get ready for Eric, so I wanted to get this in time, you know, done before we went live with the docket. So I will see you all over there. And thank you all that have sent me coffees or whatever. I appreciate you. Thank you.